If you're in B2B and you want to sign more clients and close more deals, watch this video because this is going to be a super in-depth practical training on how to ask better questions in sales calls and do a better discovery, which in my opinion is where the sale is won or lost. You don't win the sale when you have the perfect presentation or the best objection handling ninja magic at the end. The sale is really won or lost in the first 10 minutes of the call based on the first few questions that you ask, right? So I'm going to break down what I've learned over doing thousands of sales calls. I've been in sales and marketing for 12 years now. I built a sales team of 20 people. And at Revenue Boost, we've helped over 450 B2B clients with getting more leads, filling their sales pipeline, and closing more deals. So everything I'm going to show you is not just some random thing I thought of today. It's actually all the framework that we've developed over working with so many clients and doing this a lot myself as well. So regardless of what industry you're in B2B, whether you're in tech or SaaS or professional services or maybe blue collar, this framework will work for you. And it is so like battle tested. I was just meeting the other day with a client of ours who we consulted like 6 years ago. When he first started his business, he was running like a technical. He still said the other day that, oh my God, I'm still using your 7-step sales framework for discovery. It's really helpful. He's actually been able to close clients like Disney, Coca-Cola, still using this framework, which I thought was pretty awesome to see the trajectory over time. But anyways, point being, this works and you have to get the discovery right. And I'm going to break down the exact questions to ask, how to ask them so that you don't sound scripted, and really what are the most important things you should be doing, as well as what are the things you should not be doing on a sales call that kill your deals as well, right? So let's get right into it. And if you have any other questions, comment down below. Also, if you want this actual framework, this document, just comment framework and I'll send it to you somehow on YouTube. Anyways, so this is my 7-step sales framework. And before we get to the actual questions to ask in discovery, I just want to share 2 insights with you, right? These are 2 of my favorite, I would say like mantras or quotes that I remind myself. So in sales, you have to know what your job is, right? Your job is not to have the gift of gab and to say the right things and to have the perfect presentation. It's not about communicating a script. It's really about helping the prospect solve a problem, right? Most salespeople, bad salespeople, or beginner salespeople, I should say, think they need to push a product, right? But really, you're helping the prospect solve a problem, right? Salespeople do a great service, right? And it's really about asking questions and listening, right? So when you have the mindset, right? And by the way, if you don't actually hop on sales call yourself and you have a sales team, just forward them this video, but it's still good that you also understand this because you can train them better, right? But this is one of the most important things that I would train my salespeople on, right? Which is that you have to walk into the call with the right frame of mind, right? If you walk in thinking that I'm going to close this deal, I'm going to get this person's money, I'm going to sign them up, that person will feel that, right? They'll feel your attention and your energy through your words, and they're just going to be kind of like distance from you, right? So it's always about having the right intention, because when you walk into any conversation with the right intention, like the way you communicate and the body language you give off all kind of flows from that. So really, like to me, I'm just hopping on a call thinking like, how can I help this person solve a problem, right? And if you can really internalize that, you'll do way better than somebody that has the perfect sales script, right? Because really, if you just show up to the calls with that mindset of helping the person and trying to understand their problem, you'll have a much more natural conversation, and the person will feel more like, wow, this salesperson is different, you know? They're not just trying to sell me, they actually want to help me, right? So like aside from all the scripting and stuff, I know that the purpose of today's video is to show you the actual questions in the framework, but I really, before I get into that, I just want to say that the most important thing is that you have the right mindset walking in, and you have the right intention, and you show up with that genuine curiosity, right? And again, it's more about asking questions than listening. If you're talking more than like 30 to 40% of the time on the sales call, you're talking too much. The prospect should be doing more talking. The prospect doesn't get sold when you talk at them. They get sold when you ask them questions, because when you ask someone a question, they think about it and they internalize it, right? They think, they reflect on the topic, right? Whereas if you just tell them things, right? If you're just talking to someone for 3 minutes, like 10% of that's actually making it into their brain, right? It's actually been said that we only retain like 20% of what we hear, right? So really like 20% of whatever you're saying is actually getting through to them, if it's getting through to them at all, right? So it's more about asking the right questions, and I'm going to show you what those questions are. And also, you want to be their trusted advisor authority, right? And again, the questions that I'm going to show you are going to help you do this, but it's important that you know how you want to be perceived in a call, right? And when you ask the right questions, this is what happens, right? If you sit down with a doctor, they're going to ask you a lot of questions before prescribing you a solution, right? If you sit down with a good lawyer or a good accountant, they're going to ask you a lot of questions about their business, right? Like imagine this. Imagine you walked into your doctor's office and they didn't ask you any questions, and they were just like, here's some of the best pills that I got last week, and we have the best pills in town, and I just got these yesterday, and I'm going to give you a special deal. You would be like really sketched out by that, right? You know, or if you walked into a lawyer's office and you had some legal issue and they didn't ask you any questions and they just said like, hey, sign here, like here's how great our company is, you wouldn't work with them because you feel like they're just trying to sell you, right? But if you sit down with someone that asks you a lot of questions and really gets you to think about things and really tries to understand your situation and understand the problem before they give you any advice or recommendation, that's someone that you would see as, okay, this person is trustworthy. they're an authority, they're an advisor. So that's why you have to really focus on good discovery, because it automatically positions you as someone that's curious and wants to help them, and someone that they can trust and confide in, right? One thing I know for sure after doing sales for a long time and helping a lot of B2B companies with sales is that a sale does not happen if there's no trust. Think about it. When's the last time you bought something from somebody you didn't trust? Never, right? So it's all about building trust, and these questions will do that. So let me walk through the framework. Now, this is a 7-step sales call framework, but we're focusing on discovery in today's video, which is just going to be the first 5 sections, right? I'll have another video. It'll be linked down below or at the end on, the second part of the sales call, which is how do you present the offer? How do you handle objections? That'll be a separate video. And also, by the way, secret is if you do the discovery well, you'll have no objections at the end. So that's also one thing that I found. I only learned this like maybe 6-7 years into being in sales. But if you truly get discovery right, the objections dissolve, right? If you're getting a lot of objections at the end of your sales call and you're getting surprised, you're doing something wrong in the first part of the sales call. I guarantee you that, right? Because I like to play the objection prevention game, not the objection handling game. Let me say that again. I like to prevent objections, not handle them. Because here's what happens. When you present the prospect the price, you guys feel this, right? It's kind of like a high pressure situation. Maybe not high pressure, but like it's a little bit more tense once you're asking them for money, right? And then when they're going to say, oh, I need to think about it, or I need to talk to my business partner, or I need to get this approved by finance. And then you're going to go and kind of like try to handle that. Like it can feel a little bit combative, right? And they're already at the end of the call, they're 1 foot out the door. So what you don't want to do is handle objections on your back foot at the very end of a call, right? Because they expect you to do that, right? And they're already like, they've kind of already made up their mind for the most part, right? So what you want to do is you want to handle objections earlier by asking good discovery questions, right? And surface the objections when the prospect doesn't even know what's happening. So again, like you need the prospect to tell you a lot and to confide in you, but they're not going to be very telling at the end of the call because they know that like you're just trying to sell them after the price has been presented. But when you're doing the consultation part, that's where you can ask questions that pull out the objections and you can handle them early when there's not really any pressure in the scenario sections. So first, introduction. I usually like to just start the call, build a quick rapport. You don't need to, ask a bunch of questions about the weather, where they're from, because that can, come off ingenuine, and you probably don't really give a shit about the weather where they live. Maybe you do, maybe you have a weatherman in the family. But anyways, build some quick rapport. I like to just say, where are you calling from? Because it's kind of a cool conversation starter. I found out the other day that a new client of ours, or soon to be clients, just lives 20 minutes away. So we're going to meet up, right? So that's kind of cool. But anyways, just, make sure you're connected, make sure you can just get acquainted and then just get into the call. First thing you need to do is you need to state the agenda. So I might say something like, okay, so we sell outbound services, right? And B2B sales help. So I might say, hey, so just so it looks like from your form that we can help you with getting more leads and getting more appointments. But today I'm just going to ask more questions to make sure that we can help and figure out what's going to be the best plan of action for you. And if everything goes good today, if I feel we can help and you like what I have to say, we'll schedule a second call where we'll actually present you a solution. But today there's not going to be any pitching. I just want to understand if, we're actually like the right company for you. And if we're not, we'll recommend you somewhere else. I would say something like that at the beginning. Doesn't really matter what you say. Just tell them like how you're going to approach the call. 2 reasons. 1, it makes the prospect feel a little bit more at ease because they know kind of like there's a plan. 2, this is where you take control of the frame and you start leading them, right? Because if you just start the call and just let them say whatever and ask you questions, hey, so how does it work? What the price? The prospect's in control. Remember this, he or she who asked the questions is in control. The person that asked the questions is in control of the conversation, right? So the prospect kind of hops on the call and they want to ask questions, but put in the comments if this has ever happened to you. Have you ever hopped on a call and it just went like sideways because the prospect was like a driver personality and they asked you a million questions, right? That's not what you want to happen, because then the prospect's taking control. But remember this, it's your sales process. You're in charge of the sales process. It's your business, right? So you should be taking them through your process. But if you let them start rambling and asking questions, you're screwed. You're dead in the water, right? So anyways, stating the agenda tells them, hey, I have a plan. I have a thing we're going to go through, and let's get right into it, right? It puts you right at the lead. And honestly, most people silently, like whether they admit it or not, they want to be led. They want to hop on the call. They're coming to you to help solve their problem. They want to be led through your process. But also, it kind of just makes it feel more professional, because if I talk to someone and they have a meeting agenda, I usually feel like they're prepared, and it just gives a sense of like these guys are having something together, right? Now, the first thing I like to do is I like to go start off with an open-ended question, and you want to find what I call the North Star. So no matter what you sell, whether it's SaaS or agency services or anything, doesn't really matter what you sell. People always have like one major reason that they want to buy, right? There might be multiple reasons, but there's usually one most important, right? In my business, it's because they want more leads, but really it's because they have like a revenue goal or a KPI they need to hit, right? So I want to find out what that is, right? So the North Star is, what is the most important thing for the prospect? What is the main problem they want to solve, right? And it's usually not the first thing they say. So usually you have to dig and ask a bit, right? So essentially, my favorite question to ask is, hey, what interests you to meet with us, right? If somebody came to us from an ad or an email, a cold email, I might say, hey, what was it about? What made you interested to meet with us? And if they don't say much, if they're like, oh, I'm just curious, I'm going to press more. I might say, okay, cool, but you saw the cold email, you watched the video. What about the video or the cold email made it seem like, it was worth taking a meeting? Like, what are you hoping to get out of today, right? So you might have to ask a second follow-up question. But essentially, I want to know what is their North Star. And if I don't know their North Star, I'm not going to continue. I need to ask a follow-up question, find that out. Usually, 90% of the time, people will just tell you right away if you just ask, hey, what made you interested to meet with us? What are you looking for? But sometimes you might have to dig a bit. Here's a couple of other examples of what you could ask, right? Hey, just so I can see if we can help you, could you share more about what you're possibly looking for help with? By the way, keyword is like possibly. And just to see if we can help you. This is really useful because I'm always saying, like, I'm not sure if we can help you, but I'm going to find out, because it's a pattern interrupt. People don't feel like you're just trying to, once people know that you're not just trying to sell them, they are much more open with you and trustworthy. So, and that's true. At Revenue Boost, we can't help everyone, right? And also possibly is really cool because this is also pattern interrupt, because if I say like, oh, what are you possibly looking for help with? It makes the prospect feel safe. Like they're not committing to like working with you, right? It kind of makes them feel like they can say more, because people are always kind of trying to hold their cards together and put their guard up a little bit. So make them know like that, you're not trying to lock them into anything, right? And you're just saying like, hey, what are you possibly looking for help with, right? I might say this with budgetary questions too. I might say like, oh, okay, now if we were to work together, what's like the potential budget range you might be looking to invest? See how that's better than me saying like, hey, what budget do you have? Because people will feel like they want to hold their cards together and they don't want to volunteer that information, right? Anyways, these are just different examples of how you say it. You can basically just say it however you want. I'm a big believer in frameworks, not scripts. Scripts don't really work because who's going to memorize a script? And a script assumes that everybody has the same personality, communication style. I don't like that. I don't find it effective. I think it sounds robotic. I like to give my sales teams frameworks, which is like, here's the key points you got to hit. Here's the questions you should ask. Much, much better that way, because then you can ask it in your own way and it can feel a lot more natural. At my first sales job before I started my own company, I was one of the best sales trainers in our region because I just let my salespeople say things how they wanted to. And I just said like, here's the framework, here's the information you need to collect, ask it however you want, right? So that's why you'll see that there's not like a detailed script here. It's just more the questions you need to ask because it allows for more of a natural conversation. So anyways, just ask an open-ended question and get their North Star. And when you find the prospect's biggest need, their North Star, that helps you know what direction you want to go with the call. Here's an example, right? So we sell lead generation and growth marketing services at Revenue Boost, right? So most people might just say, oh, I want more leads, but that's not really very helpful, right? If I dig deeper and I say, okay, cool, but what do you mean by more leads? Is there a certain number you want to hit? Are you looking for a better quality of lead? How many leads you're getting now? If I ask those questions, I can understand more like what's behind that, right? But someone's North Star could be different in my scenario, right? Someone might hire a marketing company because they want more leads. Someone might hire a marketing company because they want better quality of leads. Someone might hire a marketing company because they're raising capital this year and they need to show pipeline growth, right? So they can get a better valuation, right? Someone might hire a marketing company to get more leads because they want to break into a new market that they haven't been able to reach yet, right? So if I know, like, think about that. That's, everyone could say that they want more leads when they hop on a call with me in my example, but those are 4 different scenarios as to why they want more leads and what their North Star is. And if I know that earlier on I know the North Star, the more I can cater the conversation. Because, for example, if somebody says, I just want more leads because we're trying to grow our pipeline and show more traction when we raise capital, then I'm going to be talking about like what's their capital raise and what's the goal and where are they now. And I'm not really going to be talking too much about like, profitability this month and needing to make ROI now, right? Whereas I'm talking to a small business that's like, hey, we're really behind on our yearly targets and our profits are low. Then I know that they're going to be concerned about like the investment and the ROI and how soon they get it back, right? So again, you just want to find out their North Star so you know what's important to them. And then you base the whole call around what's important to them, right?
Hey, real quick, how would you like a free 7-hour mini course on exactly how to start and scale outbound campaigns that book you appointments and get you clients? If that sounds good, then click the link in the description and download it real quick. This is free, my gift to you as a subscriber. And definitely download this unless you hate leads and you don't want to grow your business. If that's the case, then don't do it. But otherwise, grab it and put it to work right away. I mean, this is literally so action-packed, so like straight to the point. You can pretty much just go through the whole course in a day, implement it tomorrow, and start getting booked appointments the next day. So it's very, very easy to follow. Grab the link in the description down below. Hope you enjoy it. And also, if you don't want to do this yourself and you would actually just like to hire a team to run outbound campaigns for you and book you sales appointments, then there's also a link in the description to book a call with my team and I, where you can actually just see what it would look like to have us just do all this for you. Anyways, thanks for watching and let's get back to the video.
So then it's just situation, which is fact find. Once I know their North Star, I'm going to kind of understand the landscape, because at the end of the day, in sales, you're helping a prospect go from A to B, right? It's the same with anything. If I buy ice cream at the store, I'm going from A to B, which is A, I'm hungry or I want a sweet treat, to B, now I'm satisfied, right? No matter what you sell, your prospect is here at point A and they want to get to their point B. So the point of discovery is to understand, or one of the points of discovery is to understand what is their point A, that where they are now, and what is their point B. And when you clearly know that, you can help them figure out how to get from point A to point B, right? So first we have to understand where they are now. So in my case, as a marketing agency, I might say, okay, cool. Well, where do you get leads from now? How's that working? What do you like about your current lead generation sources? What do you not like? What's your team capacity? Okay, you're getting 50 leads a month now, or 50 calls a month now. How many calls can your team take? Oh, your team, you have 5 salespeople. You can take 150 calls a month and you're only getting 50 calls a month. Sounds like your salespeople aren't very busy and you might be having a lot of unused capacity. Let's solve that, right? So I'm not really going into solution mode yet, but I'm just trying to understand what the solution is going to be later, right? So you just want to do fact finding. So it doesn't matter what it is. If let's say you're selling an HR software solution, right? You might say, cool, well, what tool do you use now? How do you currently manage your HR? Cool, and who manages that? Do you have an HR manager? Or are you just kind of juggling this as the C? How do you do your payroll now? Has there been any problems with that, right? So just whatever their current situation is, you know what you need to know, or you know what you would need to ask here, right? So just ask like the basic, this is like kind of the boring part of discovery, but just ask the main facts you need so that you can understand their situation now, right? In my case, I might also ask like, cool, okay, now that's how you're marketing now. But if we were to build marketing campaigns for you, like, what's your goal? Like, what type of clients are you getting now? What type of clients do you want to be getting, right? This is usually where I'm gathering any data or numbers. So anyways, I'm just trying to find some facts and just get the lay of the land for where they are now and their situation. And then I'll go into the problem, right? So typically when you're going through the situation questions, you'll kind of uncover like the problem. If it hasn't come by now, then you'll just ask some of these questions to get it out. But you might say, hey, what do you like about XYZ? Or what do you not like, right? So if someone says, okay, yeah, we get leads right now from Facebook and Google ads and then referrals, I might be like, cool, well, what do you like about your current marketing channels? And then they might say, oh, I like this, and this. Okay, cool. And is there anything you don't like? Like, what's the reason you're looking for, or possibly looking for, something different? And then they might say, oh, well, all the leads from Facebook are garbage and I really want higher quality leads that close higher, right? So again, you don't have to ask all these questions. These are just example of questions, right? Why they jump on the call with you? You should have already asked that. But if not, you can just clarify that here. This is a great question. What's not working, right? So back to the B2B marketing example. Cool. Now, what's not totally working about your current marketing strategy, or what's not really hitting the goals that you want, right? Another question is, okay, cool. What would you change about your current marketing strategy if you could? Now, just replace the word marketing with whatever you sell. If you sell HR software, if you sell accounting and tax services, if you sell property management services, cool. Now, what would you change about the current property management team you have in place, right? Another thing you could say is, hey, what do you currently do in regards to X, which is like, what is the topic you sell, right? So what are you currently doing to fix your low volume of leads, right? Are you trying anything now, right? Anyways, ask the question however you want. If you did the agenda and the open-ended questions and the situation well, usually the problem will reveal itself. But until you have a clear problem, ask more questions about the problem, because the main goal is to find out what is their main problem they're trying to solve. Because the whole point of you selling them something is to solve a problem. So it's kind of silly to think that you can help someone solve a problem if you don't know what the problem is, right? So first goal is find the problem. Then you want to ask the goals, right? Like, why do they want to solve this problem? Like, what's on the other end of the rainbow, right? What's on the other end of them figuring out this problem, right? What are they looking to accomplish? Another great question is, what's the ideal outcome? So let me try to think of a different example. Let me think of a client. Okay, so we had a business that helps fintech companies get licensing. Super random, super cool though. And they basically help fintechs get the licenses they need so that they can grow their business and offer their financial solution in more countries, right? So I might say, okay, cool. Well, if we got the financial licenses for you and we got you set up with the MSBs, what would be your ideal outcome? Like what would you love to see happen in 12 months, assuming we got all this done for you? And they might say, oh, we want to expand to 10 more countries, but the regulators keep denying our application, right? Whatever it is. So usually just 1 or 2 goal questions is enough, but make sure you go beneath the surface. A lot of times prospects will give you the first gut reaction answer that's very surface level, right? And you need to make sure you really understand what's their goal. Because when people share a goal or a desire, it's usually like the surface behind something else. There's usually something else deeper that they're trying to ultimately achieve, right? So let's say like you're selling business coaching services, right? I might say, cool, well, what do you want to accomplish in your business? Like what are you hoping that where are you hoping we can help you go? And they might say, oh, I just want more revenue. I just want to make more money, right? Well, most salespeople would just move on from there, but you have to dig deeper into that, right? Because more money, more revenue, everybody says that, right? That's not really going to help you. Remember, you're not just asking questions to ask questions. You're trying to ask questions that move the prospect toward a sale and get you valuable information that's going to help you present your offer in a way that's tailored to them, right? So I might say, okay, cool. Well, obviously we want more money, more revenue. I hope we wouldn't make you less money, right? But more specifically, like, is there a certain revenue goal or a certain number of clients you want? Or like, tell me more about that. So that's an example of a follow-up question. Think about like an onion, right? You want to peel back the layers of the onion, right? Or I might say, if I don't get a good answer to a question, I typically just ask the same question in a different way. So if someone still was being very surface level, I might say like, okay, cool. Well, let's say that we waved the magic wand and solved all the problems in your business over the 3-month program of working together. Where are you hoping we can get you to in 12 months? Describe how your business would look in 12 months if you had all the current problems solved, right? So just ask the question different ways, right? And even if someone says, yeah, we want to get to 2 million in revenue in 12 months, I might say, cool, well, why? Why 2 million? Where'd that number come from? And they might say, oh, well, we want to get to 2 million because at that point I could sell the business for $6 million and retire. See, that's a different conversation. If I know that the prospect wants to just grow their business because they want to retire in a year, now I know that's the goal. Now I'm going to frame our whole presentation and their offer around this is going to be the path to your retirement. That's much more emotionally engaging than just saying, let's get you more leads or let's make you more money, right? Solution questions. So once you understand their situation, once you understand their problems and then their goals. So remember, its situation is their point A, understanding their goals, where they want to get to is point B. And then the problems is what's getting in the way of point A to point B, which is essentially what they're going to hire you to fix, right? Solutions is what is their experience with solutions like yours. So this is also very important. You want to know what solutions they've looked at. So this is what I call a buyer's journey question. You want to understand how far down the buyer's journey process they are, right? So what that means is if someone's, let's just use my business example, right? If someone's coming in to hire revenue boost to grow their business and say, hey, cool, well, what other solutions have you looked at? So like, let's say that they say, yeah, well, the problem is we're getting enough leads now, but they're very low quality and my salespeople really complain. Let's say they say that, right? I'm going to tie this back to this question here. I might say, cool, well, what other solutions have you looked at in order to get higher quality leads? Have you tried anything else? Are you currently talking to anyone else? If someone says, no, you're the first company I'm talking to, and I have no idea even what the right solution is, that's someone who's earlier in their buyer's journey. Where if I talk to someone that says, oh, well, I met with 3 other agencies last week that pitched me a different plan, and one of them gave me Facebook ads, and one of them said that we should do SEO, blah, blah, blah. That's 2 entirely different prospects. Remember, you cannot treat all prospects the same because everybody's a special cookie, right? And everyone has different, things about themselves and their business, and as that also different stages in the buyer's journey, right? So if I'm dealing with one prospect A who is just doesn't really know much about what I'm selling and is totally new to, hiring marketing companies, and I'm the first company he's meeting with, I'm going to have to educate them more and make them feel comfortable and just like show them more about like the options they have in the process, right? Whereas so in my case, the main service we sell is cold email, right? So I'm going to have to explain to them what cold email is and how it works at a very simple level and why it's going to help them get to their goal, right? Whereas if I'm talking to someone who's got 5 other bits from other agencies and they've tried a bunch of things before and they know everything about like they know the basics, right? I'm not going to have to explain to them simple things. I'm mostly going to have to focus on differentiation, right? How is my offer different and better than the other things they're considering? And you remember I mentioned before that you don't want to be handling objections. You want to be preventing them. That's why these questions are designed to pull out the objection. Really, like your main goal, like one of your main goals in the discovery is to find the objection. You never want to be unaware of the objection because prospects always have an objection. If they didn't have an objection, they would have already bought from you, right? So you want to find the prospect's objection before you present the offer. That's the magic of this process, right? And they don't even know that you're really like handling the objections here, right? It's all kind of happening behind the scenes. So if I know that someone has met with 4 other companies, then I know that the main objection I'm going to have to deal with is probably like, how are you different or better than these other companies, right? Or maybe it's price. Maybe they got a lower price than mine, right? Whereas, other common objections in sales might be, I'm not sure if I need this. I'm not sure if the timing is right. I'm not sure if I have the money. But think about this. If a prospect has met with 5 other companies and they're comparing solutions, obviously they know they need this. Otherwise, they wouldn't have spent all that time. Obviously, the timing is right. And they probably have a budget too. Otherwise, they wouldn't have kept meeting with companies and exploring options, right? So now I know that I don't have to deal with those objections likely. I just have to deal with the, how we're different objection. Whereas if somebody doesn't really know, hasn't looked at other solutions and they haven't met with other companies, maybe they're not that serious. And I have to really kind of dig into like, well, how much do you actually need this? Like, how much of a priority is this to you, right? And maybe ask more about their timing objections, right? So this also helps to pull out the objection. Another thing is, what have they already tried to solve the problem? And this will also find objections because At my marketing agency, if I ask someone, hey, what else have you tried to do to solve this? Let's say that they say, oh, we tried cold email 3 times in the last year, it never worked. Well, guess what? Now I can know what their objection is going to be. Now, when I tell them that we're going to do cold email to them, I already know they're going to say, oh man, we tried this, AJ, it didn't work, it got burned, we're not sure if this worked, and they're going to be skeptical. And in that case, now I can prepare by showing them lots of proof, lots of case studies, and I can also ask them, like, what did they do last time? So that I can find out why it didn't work and why this time it's going to be different, right? You see how this all comes together now? Like, this is what most salespeople do, is they just go through a script, they go through a generic offer pitch, they try to handle some objections at the end, and they don't really know what the hell happened on the call or what the prospect's situation is, right? Or what their objection is, right? And they're just kind of guessing and hoping and praying that the prospect says yes. But if you know the objection early on, so you want to know their North Star and you want to know the objection. Those are the 2 main things, right? If you know what's most important to them, and if you know the main reason they wouldn't buy from you, when you go to present the offer, you can present everything around like those 2 things. So when I present my offers, I do it differently for every prospect that I meet. I might have a similar deck, but I say different things along the way, right? Or I focus on different parts so that it's a standardized presentation, but it feels customized, which really, like, that's money right there. That's the sweet spot, right? So yeah, I like to ask what have they already tried to solve the problem, so that I know just also like how sophisticated of a buyer they are. If I'm talking to a person that's hired a lot of companies like mine, I can skip explaining the basics and just get into more about our process. If I'm talking to somebody that has never hired a company like ours, I'm not going to go like super deep into the technical stuff or how we're different than other companies, because that information is not relevant to them, right? So that is the discovery framework, right? So remember, you're trying to find their North Star and you're trying to find their objections. And this is how you can rank yourself or your salespeople on every call. If you have a sales team, put this in the CRM, put a little field for, what's their North Star and what was their objection. And you can actually coach your sales team, right? Because if they're not actually finding these things out on the call, then they're not really doing a good job with discovery. And if we know that the sale is really won or lost in discovery, it's not really about the presentation at the end. Like, you already pretty much know by that point that they're going to move forward. So if we know that the sale is won or lost in discovery, and you or your sales reps are not doing good discovery, well, then that's why you're leaving a lot of deals on the table, right? So those are the 2 things you need to find. These are the questions I like to ask and what I'm looking to find out. I don't ask every single question every time. Obviously, you kind of just pick and choose based on what the prospect's saying. And remember, key things is don't accept the first answer. If the prospect gives you a service level answer, ask more questions to dig deeper and find the real, what's behind what they're saying. I'll leave you with this. Communication is not about what's heard, it's about what's understood, right? So if you say something to me or I say something to you, that's just hearing. That's not communication. Communication is actually understanding what the person really means, right? It's what they actually mean at a deeper level, right? So you want to understand, you want to be able to read between the lines and understand what's really important. The way you do that is by asking good questions and asking follow-up questions if you didn't really get Now, I like to do 2 call closes. Generally, I've done that in all of the businesses I've been in, especially in most B2B scenarios. Most of you guys should be doing a 2-call close. So I like to do discovery as 1 call, offer presentation as the next call. And the magic of this is now if I've asked all these questions on the first call, I can plan for my second call and know exactly what I need to say or what I need to send or go over to make sure that I'm covering their key objections and their problems and only talking about what's important to them and nothing else. And that's really, really very, very important, is you don't want to be talking about a bunch of useless information that's not important to the prospect. You want to be just talking about what they care about. And that's what's going to make them see you as, again, their trusted advisor and authority. So hope this was useful for you. If it was, leave me a comment down below. Leave me a comment if you want this framework as well. And definitely subscribe for more content. And there should be a video up here somewhere or in the link in the description about, I'm going to film another video just today about the second call and how we actually present the offer and handle objections. But really, the most important thing here is getting this discovery right. Make sure you ask the right questions. Make sure you ask follow-up questions. Make sure you understand the prospect's North Star and their objection before you present the offer, and you'll close way more deals, I promise you. So I hope you enjoyed this, and see you in the next one. Hey, I'm AJ Quesada, co-founder of Revenue Boost. Really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you do, make sure to leave me a comment and definitely subscribe right now so that you're notified of all the cool stuff we're doing, all the cool tactics, tips, and strategies that we share here on the channel. We help B2B companies scale to 7 to 8 figures. We've helped over 400 clients, and we can help you too. And we share some amazing stuff on the channel here. So really, really hope you enjoyed. And if you do, let me know in the comments, and be sure to subscribe. All right, back to the video.